Well, hello everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Roundabout Town podcast. My name is Anton Garcia Fernandez, coming to you from downtown Jackson, Tennessee, right here next to the beautiful Ned Performing Arts Center. And here next to me is the executive director of the Ned here in Jackson. He has lots of experience with theater, with music, with vocal coaching, and he's also from this area. He has been working in this area for a long time. His work has taken him many places, but he has come back to the area where he grew up, which is West Tennessee. And his name is Mr. David McCall. Hello, David. It's wonderful to have you on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, I have been following your work for a while for different reasons, and preparing a little bit for this conversation, I found out that you grew up in Greenfield, Tennessee.
That's right.
What was it like to grow up in a small rural area of Tennessee for somebody so interested in the arts and music and theater?
Well, I imagine you could probably imagine what it was like knowing about Martin, But these towns have gotten so much bigger. But Greenfield, when I was in school, as far as opportunities for arts, they were limited. I think we had music for kindergarten through fifth grade. So a lot of my early arts exposure came from PBS, came from the Disney Renaissance. I was growing up during that time and listening to the radio and watching. I think there was a production of Into the Woods that would show on PBS, and I would watch it through the moving the antennas, to see that.
I remember that.
Absolutely. But it was great, and a lot of church singing, a lot of, I got it wherever I could. And so that's where my exposure started, for sure.
Do you have any first memories related to the theater from when you were a kid?
There's a legend of when I was little of, putting me in front of the TV while the parents are working on something, and then hearing the channel change to something operatic playing, and then they come back, oh, he must have accidentally changed the channel and fix it back to cartoons, and then they would hear it go back to that, for sure. But I know one of my favorite memories of at least growing up, which probably was a forebearer of what I would be doing, is taking the Venetian blind stick off and then conducting the orchestra, like putting on certain soundtracks and stuff and conducting them and really getting into the music. But I also had fantastic teachers growing up too, who I was the only kid from Greenfield who would go to all West or all state choir competitions. I mean, and I'm not dogging on it. It was just there were about 30 of us in my graduating class, so I was always in a small class, and so sports ruled the roost. But I still got lots of opportunities thanks to really great educators. And I remember writing, I even did some writing in fifth grade. I wrote a truncated adaptation of The Wizard of Oz for my fifth grade class to perform, provided I was the Cowardly Lion, obviously. But I wrote that went basically from song to song to song to song with a couple lines in between. So I don't know, I had a wonderful time.
Well, what is it about The Wizard of Oz that just draws you in so much? Not you personally, but just people, in general.
It's one of those perennial classics. I guess story structure, every character wants something, and so when it's explicitly stated like it is, all ages can appreciate it for that, and I think it does something inherently to us because we all want something from some time.
And then the music, of course.
And the music, we can't forget about the classic music. But yeah, Wizard of Oz, iconic.
Now, you left the state to go to college, and you were at Murray State.
Went to Murray State.
What did you study there?
I studied music, of all things. I followed my heart to music. I had a teacher in high school who told me, you love theater, you love music, study music, because there's a little bit more, nothing against theater, but you could do more with theater with less education versus music. You're going to need a lot more education. So I'm grateful for that. But I moonlit, I say, in the theater department. It was just about every production and working on everything. But I studied music. I was in the concert choir, studied voice there. And really, it was a learning curve for me because I had only done church singing. I had not had like one-on-one instruction except in piano lessons. And even then, I was already pretty passionate about it, so it was still kind of fun. And when voice lessons were not that fun, I was like, why would anyone want to do that? Why is this teacher telling me I can't do what I've been doing my whole life and be fine, you know? So I had to really check the ego during that period of time. But I had really great compassionate and patient teachers who was like, come on, no, here we go. And you know, that learning journey is very humbling if you give over to it in a great way. So studied there, and we took choir trips to England, Ireland, and Wales, and got to sing in all the cathedrals. And
How important was studying abroad for you?
oh my goodness, it was another eye-opening experience of just broadening horizons, because to come from Greenfield, population, 2,000 to...
Oh, I drive there every day.
Oh, yeah,
you know
all
from
about
Jackson to get to Martin.
That's right, that's right. So we still have our one-stop light, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still there.
We haven't added to there. Just
Except for storms, sometimes it doesn't work.
Right. Oh my gosh, what do they do? They're just flashing yellow, I guess.
No, it's just car crashes.
Just hands out, just wait. Yeah, no, I would suggest that for anybody. Being the fish out of water is, a fish out of water is so important in your life. And I have a mentor who's like, you always have to be in that process in some way or another. Otherwise, your perspective will get so skewed or so watered down. You've always got to find a place to be the other. You'll always have your family and you'll have your friends, but be the other in some circumstances so that you can have an empathy, for other folks who are the other.
Yeah, I understand that. And in fact, if not for studying abroad, I would not be here myself.
Hey, there we go.
So yeah, I understand. Now, music and theater have been a constant in your life after college, because you did work in Virginia, in the theater there, and then you moved to New York City, and you worked there as a vocal coach, among other things. What are your memories about New York, and how important was New York City, personally and professionally for you? Because you were there over 10 years, right?
Yeah, I did New York. I would say that is, I kind of measure my life in lifetimes. So it feels like, that was, college was its own lifetime. Working in that theater in Virginia was its own lifetime and learning. And then New York was its own. So that's where I did a lot of learning as an educator, as even as a human being. And I will never not be thankful for having that time in New York, just where you could go see jazz at any point, or go see a show at such a moment's notice. You know what? Let's go move the friend group over to Blue Note, or go Joe's Pub and go see somebody play or something. It was just great. Yeah, I would say for any artist, spending time in a huge metropolitan city is so important. Just to see, there's a whole another heartbeat that's happening, and always something to see. But it also is like a whole bunch of small neighborhoods just layered on top of each other. So it's almost like you could choose a track and live a different life. But I think the thing that I really appreciate is the ability to fade or disappear just a little bit. Like you're always, coming from New York for 10 years, you didn't really pay attention to what other people were thinking or necessarily feeling about you. Like everybody was kind of on their own track and had their goals to meet so-and-so, or their own groups that they care immensely about, but the other folks not so much. And here in Southern Living, all of our lives are so intertwined that, when you just want to lay back and be a lump on a stump, sometimes you feel like, should I, so I sometimes feel like I have to hide away to relax or something, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, though.
Are there any challenges, though, of living in New York as an artist, as a vocal coach?
Yeah, the money, man, it's so expensive. But everybody's working 2 and 3 jobs and working their booties off. But yeah, big difference. It's just the volume of people. Volume of people, which I always found so invigorating. I just love it. You would encounter so many different cultures just getting to work every morning if you were taking transit or the public transit. So I really and just the sounds that you would hear, everything from natural sounds like birds and wind and rain and everything, but then also the different languages being thrown out and the cars, the aggressive nature of that. There's something, it almost, it's odd to say, but it relaxes me to hear all of that noise. I don't know what that says about me.
No, I totally understand that. Yeah, absolutely. And you did, however, come back to the South, to Tennessee, to West Tennessee, to the area where you grew up in. And how did that happen? And how did you become involved with the Ned McWherter Performing Arts Center?
So, to answer the first part, when the world shut down for COVID, as you know, most of us remember, even though there are children born today who, you know, it's not part of their experience, which is a fascinating thing. I was just talking with somebody about that. Anyway,
it reminds me of, you know, I have students, you know, right now at the university that were not alive when 9/11 happened. So, you know, it's kind of similar in a way.
It's exactly the same kind of thing. These cultural experiences that, you know, the older you get, the more you see them pass, you know, right before other generations. And then you sound like the old folks, but you have no idea. Yeah.
But the alternative is no good.
That's true. That's true. You know, but we can't escape. We can't escape a little bit of trauma in our lives. But when that happened, when COVID slowed down everything to a screeching halt, I was still teaching, but I was helping. You know, I go back to a moment when I was helping a friend move out of his apartment via FaceTime, because I had just signed my lease in March, and then that's when everything shut down, when they shut down the city. So I was like, oh, well, I'm kind of here. Okay, let's see if we can make this work. And, you know, as things it would just wore on me. And, you know, I had been there over 10 years, and I was like, I've done it. This feels like a natural transition time. And then the real clincher was when both of my folks were showing signs of COVID and that I could hear and see over the phone. I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna go. Sold off stuff pretty quickly and hurried on back down and made sure that they were staying on top of their health with this, so that they wouldn't succumb to that, you know, that gross thing. I remember having it myself in New York and just being miserable. But yeah, that was the real change that brought me back here. And then
so that was the catalyst, and maybe you wouldn't have come back if not for that.
You know, you wonder, and I'm grateful to it though, because it is, like you say, it's a return for me, because I grew up in this area, and then I had grown up doing shows at the Civic Center and at the Ned here with the Children in Teen Theater, which you know, was still going, but it was kind of morphing. And so I had reconnected with some of my friends in the Theater Guild, and then started doing some contract work with the Ned, as helping out with a camp here and there. And then, you know, they brought me on staff in the fall of, I think it was 22. And then by about January, they had moved me into this position. And it was pretty fast, but it felt like a natural thing. I always talk about, you know, you feel the tiger when certain things happen, or when it's like, oh, this is the next step. Okay, let me take that next step. And there's no question about it. And it's been such a rewarding experience with, you know, the goals that I get from, you know, my own personal goals, and then goals that I get from the city, because we are a department of the city. And to try to find new ways to meet those, or to, you know, remain creative, but then also take care of the political bureaucratic piece of the puzzle. You know, it's a fun challenge, and for my brain that you know, loves the noise and loves all that stuff, I guess undiagnosed ADHD probably. It's one of those, but it's a dream job for right now. You know, and I always try to treat these jobs like not like a job, you know, Monday through Friday, but as almost like an advanced degree in a certain way, where like I'm being taught and graded all the time. You know? So it's fun, and it keeps me in that learning posture.
Well, in this capacity, what kind of activities do you do? What kind of duties do you have?
Got you. So, with this particular building, the Ned itself, the Ned McWherter West Tennessee Cultural Arts Center.
Which is related to the governor of Tennessee, the name of it, right?
Yes, former Governor Ned McWherter. That is right. We are his namesake, or we carry his namesake. That involves the programming that goes on here. There's a lot of scheduling, working with other organizations. On top of that, there are artists and organizations who keep an office in this building. So there's some landlord duties, making sure things are up to snuff for them, that they're taken care of. And then the general upkeep of this building. This portion of the building is 100 years old, 101 years old now, actually. And then the Ned portion is about 25 years old. And so there are things, making sure, like when a lot of the building was built, the ADA compliance rules were different. And so though we are grandfathered in, I think it's also important to make sure we're doing what we can with the funds that we have to move the building forward. Like I don't love the excuse that we're grandfathered in. You know, it's hard to tell someone in a wheelchair that, well, we're grandfathered.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really buy stuff. So there's that. There's and then all the paperwork that's involved with being a department of the city. And then also like running some rehearsals, so the shows that we do and that the Ned produces. We do a lot of outreach. One of the goals that we have is making sure that we're doing theater not just within these walls, but that we take it out into the community, and thus the touring wing kind of has been formed. And so we're in our third year of doing that, which is one of my favorite parts of what we do. So yeah, it runs the list. So when you get to the end of one list, another list has already started. You know, it has a little cascading effect. And times of year are more difficult than others. But
yeah, and I want to talk about the productions that you're doing in a second. But I wanted to ask you also, how relevant do you think that an institution such as the Ned is for a city like Jackson, Tennessee, and the West Tennessee area?
I think it's always an indicator. I think it's like the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. Like when the arts are flourishing, to me that is a sign of a healthy city, a happy city. And what I have seen being here is an increase in organizational involvement in the Ned. Like we just had an evening last night where Theater Guild was doing a show. We were having rehearsals up here, and one of the artists was having a little open house in their studio upstairs. And to me, those are my favorite times, because then we have so many people in the building occupying, because this is a public building. It is a space that is meant to be used and utilized by the community.
It's beautiful too.
Yes, there's so much to see. And one of the big rewards that I get is when new people are coming to the Ned and experiencing this architecture, the programming for the first time. A lot of people say that they walk by this and it's like, well, it says City Hall on it. Why would I go in? It's like, well, it's an old City Hall. It's actually the admin offices of the theater, But I think it is, in my time here, what I have seen is a community that is so connected to the arts, and either they're producing or wanting to see something or wanting to be a part of something, And a lot of the times the shows that we end up producing, we're very careful to sidestep what all the other organizations are doing. And so it's great because it offers that challenge. Well, what can we do that doesn't step on toes, but that also feeds a sector of the community that isn't represented right now in what's being offered, and that challenge really fuels my soul. So yeah, I mean, it's a necessary component, and we're really experiencing a high time of involvement right now.
It is a very artistic community, and it has a long history of that. And you just have to look at the music, for example. I remember when I was hosting my classic country music radio shows, playing records by Carl Perkins, for example.
Yeah.
And now I live in the city where he basically that he called home. And so being such an artistic community, what is the level of community involvement that the Ned has, would you say?
It infiltrates every aspect of what we do. I look to some of the shows that we pick usually come out of conversations with community members. I'm like, what would be great, or what you should try, that kind of stuff. And even down to taking our touring shows out with the young people and performing for other kiddos, like that is community involvement to the max. Like I just know it is so well, when we show up, the teachers are very grateful to us for occupying an hour of time. But it's also great to take theater, because a lot of the kiddos out in Madison County and surrounding, so many are blessed to be able to come here and be a part of programs, but then there are so many who aren't. And so being able to take that and show them, this happens down here and we're bringing it to you, that's so great. But then we also have a number of volunteers that'll work with us and work with other organizations, and and even working with other businesses to love on casts, with little gifts or sponsoring T-shirts or sponsoring shows. We just had an organization reach out who wants to do matching donations for the music for Prince of Egypt that we're working on right now, and they were like, "We will match everything up to $2,500. So please, anything." So it's a refreshing place to be, because we're working very hard, but then for that work to be recognized by the community and appreciated by the community, it feels really, really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that idea of taking the art outside of the net and bringing it to other places, that ties in very well with what you are doing right now, which is directing this production of The Velveteen Rabbit, which is actually a bilingual version of it in English and Spanish. So The Velveteen Rabbit, but also El Conejo de Terciopelo, right?
Exactly.
And I find that very interesting, because it is bilingual, and also because you're touring the local elementary schools, and even as far as Morris City, which is about 35 minutes away from downtown Jackson. How did that project of The Velveteen Rabbit come about?
So, to put this in a frame, the Ned R McWherter, when he was governor, did a lot of groundwork to make the arts accessible for students in and around Nashville, like with the TPAC and with other arts. So there is a history of, arts accessibility, and with our namesake, which I thought was really interesting. I found that out, I think it was year 2 when I was here. I was like, oh, that's great, a cosmic echo, So this particular production was born out of a need that I recognized. So we've taken out Shakespeare. We'll take that to the high schools. We're going to take out an Edgar Allan Poe play, actually, to the high schools this coming fall. And
So an adaptation of one of the stories?
Well, it takes 2 of the stories with some biographical info as the glue between the stories. We do William Wilson, and then we do The Telltale Heart.
Oh, wow. Sounds interesting, yeah.
It's so good.
Poe is one of my favorite writers. So
Yeah,
it always has been since I was, 12, 13, and I read The Golden Bug and, all the more horror type stories. So, yeah, I'm a big fan.
Listen, you'll have to come back, check it out, see if Libby wants to be in this sometime.
She might.
It's a nice, scary, it's scary. It's atmospheric. It plays with your mind.
Like Poe?
Yes. So we had taken out Julius Caesar and Macbeth, or the Scottish play, if you'll excuse me.
Yeah.
And what is it? The Princess and the Pea. And what I saw when we took out The Princess and the Pea was there was an overwhelming presence of Spanish-speaking children in the audiences. And so you would try to, before the shows, we like to interact with them. I get the teenagers to go talk to the kids, let them know that you're human beings, instead of just these people on stage. And so they came out and would talk, and then I would see there were all of these children who would not necessarily respond to the English, but as soon as you gave them a little Spanish, they were off to the races, and you had just unlocked something. It was like, oh my gosh, we have to do something. And so thus began kind of the germ for this one. Velveteen Rabbit, to me, is a story that is, though it is so Anglo in all of it, in its original state. There's something there, that notion of what is real, what does it mean to be real, the multiple meanings of real, and the rewarding that love, that investment, it's like how that has a transforming effect on you. So I thought, well, there's something here. And then doing some research, I found out that we had a bilingual theater here in Tennessee, as near as Memphis. So Casa Teatro, bilingual theater group. And I just did a cold message to him. I was like, hey.
Would you be interested?
Oh, yeah. Would you like to collaborate?
Just like I did to you for this interview, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, what are you going to say? No? Like, just tell me no and I'll move on and we'll figure out another way. But they were so kind. And so, yes, we would love to. When can we do a meeting? And so we just tossed around this idea. We really went round about, is this the story to tell? Is this a story to tell? But we came, to the conclusion that yes. And so I put down a draft of this, like what it could be. We were like, well, let's change the setting. Let's change the time. Let's, we got to make something a little bit relatable to young folks. It's not that you'll lose any elements of the story. You maintain the story beats, but it's just we changed the specifics a little bit. And so we moved it to Peru just for our working, our knowledge as we're working through this. So that opened up this whole idea that rather than the fairy that comes in, well, why not use the spirit of Pachamama, the Andean spirit and this, the spirit of balance and Mother Nature element to it. And so we tossed around this script, and they would give me notes, and I would take it on back and work on that. And then we would go. I would sit with them, and we would read it out loud together and see. Well, this kind of works. This does. And so the what we came up with, and thankfully, here's the kicker too, is I had gotten an ABC grant from the Arts Council. So that was a Arts Build Community grant, and it was perfect for this. And so I hired them to put on this production here at the Ned. And so they came and I got to see it on its feet with them for 2 performances. Excuse me. And then, knowing that I was going to take this on the road, having been able to see it played out, made some adjustments, some changes, and even made some changes in our rehearsals as we went, so that now when we take it on the road, it's a nice tight 35 minutes. We do talk back. That's a long-winded answer, but I get excited about this process because it's
and I commend you for doing this because I always tell my students, as I teach Spanish at the University of Martin, and I always tell the students that learning Spanish, specifically Spanish in this area, can be very helpful to them, not just personally but also professionally, because there are many jobs that in many ways would be enhanced by somebody who knows how to speak Spanish. How do you see the presence of Spanish in the West Tennessee area?
I was just going to say I have 3 friends who work as translators, who work in the hospitals and who work in courthouses.
Now, is one of them John Mark Moss?
It is. How about that? Yes.
Because I also interviewed him in this.
Oh, excellent!
In this series of podcasts. Yes, he's
fantastic.
A great guy, and it was wonderful to talk to him. I've known him for a few years now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say it is imperative, just seeing that need in the schools alone. And I know there's a need in the schools. I think it's, we can use art to entertain. We can also use it to inform. And so it's great that we brought this here. Even this morning we had a performance, and one of the little kids in our talk back after was like, how do you all know Spanish? And of course, the secret is we don't all know Spanish, but we had Elena with us, and she was able to speak to the fact that she is a speaker and that we had learned some, and we shouted you out, of course. But I would say one of the goals with this is, yes, we bring this art to these students who are going to respond to having Spanish being spoken on a stage. One of my favorite things, though, I heard in our van on our drive back from Maury City today, where one of the actors was saying, I find myself, I'm able to speak in some Spanish now, and I'm not even translating in my head. I just know what it means now. And so, there's something, the change starts small. It always starts small.
And I always tell the students that it's very important that if they're really serious about learning Spanish, they should take every opportunity that they have.
Yeah.
to just use it, because by using it is how that kind of thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Studying it from the book alone is not going to do it, but you need to actually be able to use it to such an extent that you're not thinking in English anymore.
Yes.
And that's easy to say, it's not as easy to do, but it takes practice.
And the
So-
repetition, and I think it starts like starts with a few little words or a few little phrases, and then suddenly, it's that of movement isn't a movement is actually like a bunch of micro movements, until you realize, oh, the change has happened, or oh, I've learned this thing. So, but yeah.
Well, you're working with high schoolers and middle schoolers in this production in particular, and I wonder, when you direct a play like this, what are your goals and your rapport with the cast?
In my relationship with them?
Yes, and what would you like to achieve? Like when you direct a play like this, what elements does the play have at the end of the journey that make you feel like, oh, this has been a good production, this has been a good play?
It's a great question. And having operated in the professional world and then in the community world and educational theater world, I think when it comes to our touring shows, the mark of success is when it can happen with or without me there. Right? Like, I'm not having to say, oh, but do this, oh, but remember, oh, but, they've formed a cohesive unit that they're able to do the play with the stuff and make the things happen. And where they're relying on each other. I guess that's what it is. So my goal in the rehearsal room is, how can we, I'm pretty bad about this. I'm trying to erase myself from the process as much as I can.
So the less that you have to be there,
right,
the better.
Right? You know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
like, you just want them to have the relationship in and amongst themselves. So I would say in the room, it's making mistakes are glorified. As in, there's no mistake that's going to make you a bad actor in this room. Everything is an experiment. So try this. If anything, most of my notes are always like, hey, try saying that a little differently. It sounds like you've decided how that needs to sound. Try something else. Surprise yourself.
Like the character takes hold of
Yes.
the actor in a way.
Yeah, like we want to do things in service of the play, because ultimately and this is something my mentor, Katie Brown, taught me when I was working in theater. So everything is in service to the audience, and especially so when we're a civic department. That what we were in the service industry here. So as we work, we want to make sure we're bringing our best and doing our best for the service of the audience, which means then, we can't just like walk around and not care about every decision has to be thought about. And so instilling that is tough in middle schoolers and high schoolers, right? Because they have enough to worry about most of the time. But they'll also surprise you with what they're capable of, and if you ask them and if you gently nudge them in that direction.
And in what way do you think, since this just reminded me that you've been working with kids for a long time, in what ways do you think that drama is beneficial to kids, to high schoolers, to middle schoolers, to even elementary schoolers?
Yeah, it is a confidence booster for sure. There's something about standing in front of folks, people listening to you, and what that does to you and what that does for you. I would say also the camaraderie that you build with the cast is so important, because now you are responsible for certain people, and you're having to rely on other people. Say your line, then I have to say my line, and then you please say your line, so that I can say that kind of stuff. And even in the backstage of it all, like helping people move things and making sure things flow. And it's so interesting. There are a lot of sleight of hand things that happen in theater that don't get appreciated except by the cast. So I would say there's that team element of like, yay, we weren't noticed. It's such a weird thing, but yes.
And I think that's interesting because, I feel like people tend to think in terms of teams, sometimes in the professional world, but particularly in sports. But there are other places that have to do with the arts, for example, where a team is an element, and it's an important element to the success of a production or an endeavor, right?
Yes, very much so. And even amongst the team, everybody has a different job in that team. It's a perfect analogy for for what we're up to. But it's so sprawling and it changes. I think the thing that makes it tough to see it that way is like the material changes, and so the set of challenges is always changing. Like sometimes, we have to have fire in this place, or a level of dancing, singing. But yes, it is a team. It's a team sport.
Now, you said that the Velveteen Rabbit was almost like a quintessentially, Anglo story, but don't you think that it also has kind of like a universal, timeless sort of element to it?
Well, I think that's why it sticks around. Like there are so many elements to it. I always think about they call it the skin horse, but like the rocking horse speech about, by the time you become real, most of your fur has been rubbed off, but you don't care, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
By the time you are real, you don't care about the superficial thing. So I think that is probably at the heart of the staying power. I think parents reading it to their kiddos, and like that hits so differently the older we get, that but it does have staying power. I think there's a new television show or something on Apple TV. They've done a whole series with it, so I think so. But I also talked to friends. I mentioned that we're doing this play. They're like, stop talking. That is emotionally disturbing to me, because it's so heartrending. But it makes me think of The Fox and the Hound a lot. I reference that. They're the best of friends, but they can't be friends anymore.
Exactly.
Or they were friends for that period of time. I think that to me, that's another reason why it translates so well, is that for that period of time, this kid needed this toy and this toy needed this kid. But after that, they will always have that time. They'll always love that time, but that time has passed.
Do you think that in this area, in the local schools in West Tennessee, do you think music and theater have enough of a presence? Have you seen anything? Can you speak to that in any way?
I will say it has definitely grown. The presence has absolutely grown, and I'm so thankful for that. What I would, in the schools, I think a lot of schools have really great programs now, and they're growing and getting better. Like I think this technology boom, I remember a time without YouTube, and now you could see so many shows, Broadway caliber performances on YouTube, and so that accessibility, I think, has leveled the playing field in a beautiful way. That now there's the audience has been educated in a way that we weren't really before. So I would say, that I see a lot of fantastic school shows that come here to the Ned. All levels, and the talent will just blow you away as well. So I think we could always use a little more. I don't know. And I think as our population grows, we'll see some more and more. I don't know. I would love to make it like New York, right? Where you can see jazz and you can see music, you can see theater.
That would be wonderful. Now, it is true that there's a lot of music coming to the Ned as well, which I really appreciated, because I've been able to attend jazz concerts, and now we're going to have country music concerts coming up in May, and Dale Watson's going to be here.
That's right.
So I think that a theater like this in downtown Jackson really has an important role to play.
I agree. I agree, and that is something. You mentioned the music. That is something I'm excited about. As now that we've got the theater is like popping off beautifully, so I would love to see more. And I'm working on it. Getting some more concerts in here, and other art forms. Would love to, I think we're looking at doing a dance camp where we'll have hip hop dance represented. I won't be teaching. A sigh of relief was exhaled, and I want to get more visual arts going. We have so many fantastic artists here who keep their studio, and I'm just thinking there's always, what's not being represented. I feel like that's where my mind immediately goes. Who's not at the party right now? And so.
Has your knowledge of music in any way influenced the way you approach theater?
I think so. I think it has to. I think very musically. And rhythms within plays. I think plays have rhythms for sure. There's the intended rhythm of the playwright, and then there's the way an audience hears the thing. And I am typically I lend towards laissez-faire in directing. Especially with young artists, I want you to experiment and go crazy. I don't want to tell you how to say something necessarily, unless there's like an egregious missing of the meaning of something, right? I don't want to necessarily get in there and no, let me, I'm not trying to live vicariously through these young artists. I would much rather see what they come up with and push and try. So, but that I think that's a musical thing as well. Like when you treat the instrumentalist, like, no, do your thing, trust your instrument, you do your thing, But yeah, I would say so. When it comes to, hurry up, what do we, we're out of tempo, what's going on? But I guess yes and no. Let's say yes and no. Every theatrical experience is so different, and every script is so different that I think that musical ear helps. But it's also now become my escape art. Like I think in college, theater was my escape art. Now when I sing in choirs and sing and practice and do a little writing of music, it's an escape for me. So it's kind of my joy bubbles up in there a little bit more. But I'm sure it informs everything.
Well, that makes all the sense, David. It really, has been a pleasure chatting with you, getting a chance to sit down and chat with you. And my final question, that of course I always ask any guest on the show, is what projects are you working on right now? For the near future, like for the rest of the year, maybe into the next year. Besides, what you're doing right now with the Velveteen Rabbit, El Conejo de Terciopelo.
Yes, El Conejo will wrap up here in next week. We're working on Prince of Egypt right now, rehearsing that and getting that up.
Are you also working with that production? Are you directing it? Or?
I'm doing some music direction with that one. In the fall, this will be interesting. In the fall, we're going to be doing 1776. We got a big grant, right? And so how do we make this production relevant to as many folks as we possibly can? And how do we also turn it on its head to open the door for other folks to participate who wouldn't ordinarily be involved in that one? So that'll be a fun challenge on the horizon. Looking, like I said, we're touring Poe this fall into some schools. And then some other writing things, I'm keeping the dialogue open with Casa Teatro, so I want to see what are some other stories that we could tell, like what are some things that might lend themselves. The Velveteen Rabbit was a bit of a challenge. We had to do a little bit more overhaul, but I'm like, is there a story that we could tell that will lend itself pretty well? Pretty much any of them, I suppose. But yeah, lots of camps. I don't know. It feels like we're at the Play Factory here. So we're doing all these kinds of things. But I'm excited as I zoom back. I'm really proud of what we are doing and the legacy we're building and the doors we're opening.
And in the current economic climate, do you see any challenges facing an institution like the Ned and the executive director of that institution, that you could, address or talk about?
I definitely see in the tumultuous times, our boss, the mayor, has encouraged us all departments to tighten the belts. And so as I look at these touring productions like those, we could do, and something else that helps is telling classic stories and classic authors. Like those royalties are not too expensive, right? But they're also great, great rich fruit to bring to people. But then also the emphasis on imagination and creativity. How do we tell these stories without jumping on Amazon to try to get armor?
And that's another challenge, with the advent of artificial intelligence and and all that, which in a way could be helpful, but in another way could also be a hindrance. So.
It is. It's a balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it really kicks open a door, but it feels like a slippery slope for our artist friends. So I'm like, oh man, with a lot of visual artists, I don't think we could use any. I mean, the drop that we used for Velveteen Rabbit was created by hand by our in-house artist, Jordan Alexander.
And it's wonderful, brother.
It's beautiful.
What was the name again of the person?
Jordan Alexander.
Jordan, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's phenomenal. We've got world-class staff here for sure.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and it's really been a pleasure, chatting with you.
Thank you.
David. This is David McCall, the Executive Director of the Ned McWherter Performing Arts Center here in downtown Jackson. best of luck to you in everything that you do, and I hope that we'll stay in touch for a long time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anton.
My pleasure. This has been a new episode of the Roundabout Town Podcast. My name is Anton Garcia Fernandez, signing off now from downtown Jackson, Tennessee, here in the United States of America. Thank you, and so long, everybody. Thank you, David.
Thank you.